Okay, I think we have let everybody in who's waiting. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Couple of housekeeping things as we get this special PTA parent discussion with Principal Landon started. As you entered, everyone is muted, just given the volume of participants tonight. All mics will be muted, but any questions that you want to submit as we're having our conversation with Principal Landon, if you can enter them in the chat, please direct a question either to Lee Brown or to Brian Young in the chat, and they'll be helping me monitor all the questions that come through the chat tonight. We did have several questions, many questions submitted when people registered for the meeting tonight already. So we do have a number that we are trying to get through. Many of us have the same questions, and so I hope we'll be able to cover ground that will address a lot of people's questions and concerns. So with that, I'm going to officially get us started here. I'm Tracy Verder-Torres, our PTA president at Sutterville. I want to thank all of our Sutterville families and particularly our PTA members. We know we've got many teachers on here tonight, so thank you for your time. And it's my pleasure to introduce our interim principal, Skip Landon, who is helping us as we navigate these really uncharted waters around a potential reopening here. Many of you had a chance over the last couple of weeks and months to meet Principal Kingsbury. And so we know that we are missing Principal Owen and wishing her all the best in her time away from Sutterville, but we really appreciate Principal Landon stepping in during a really unprecedented time here. And I just want to give him a chance to introduce himself as we go into tonight's conversation. So Principal Landon.
Good evening, everybody, and I hope everything's fine with you. You're healthy and safe and ready to go tonight. I'd like to start off giving you a little bit of history about myself with Lori. I've known Lori for, I think, when I talked to her a couple of weeks ago, we've been friends for like 23 years. She was actually, when I was a principal down at Harkness, she was my office, central office support. And when we talked, she said that she was really glad that I was able to come in and make sure the school's in good shape. And it's been a pleasure to be there. I have seen a couple faces that I recognize a little bit, a couple teachers. I started in this business about 46 years ago. I've been retired for 13 years, I think. And I've been in Sac City as a full-time employee, as well as interim principal for like 36 years, I think, give or take one or two, really wouldn't make much difference. So I'd like to start off with the questions, but also I have a little caveat here that I was in a meeting from the district today, and they answered a few more questions. I think I'm a little bit on information load right now, but I do have some things that I wanted to discuss with you and reassure you that the school's in good hands and kids are going to be safe and healthy, and we're going to move out and get through this situation. It's going to be some work, but I really feel confident that we're going to make it okay. And that's what I wanted to speak to tonight. And so let's get started.
Great, thank you. So we had a number of questions around, as you can imagine, the classroom environment, right? So most of the parents that are here tonight are aware of the district's possible cohort A, cohort B model, but many of the questions really are about what's the student experience going to be when they're at campus. So the first question is around how students will socially distance in a classroom. Is there plexiglass? Will they be 6 feet apart? Those kind of classroom facility type questions.
Okay. There are, CDC is very specific as to what they expect for safety of our students and the children in our possession while we're there during the day. And the desks have been set at 6 foot intervals. However, CDC says you can go down as low as 4 feet and in an emergency down to 3 feet, but everything's set at 6 feet, and the teacher desk from the students is placed at approximately 8 feet. Go ahead. I'm not sure that I answered all that question.
Yeah, that was good. There was a question about plexiglass and whether
Oh,
there are
plexiglass. Okay.
barriers
Mhm.
around the students' desks.
Yeah, the plexiglass is only going to be in front of the secretaries. With the 6 foot, space between all the desks and everything, there shouldn't be a problem, and that's through CDC. Okay. You may or may not agree with that, but they've done a lot of research and it's come up to be a pretty solid number. So kids can effectively be in a room. The room is going to be ventilated. They're continuing to, I may be getting a little bit ahead on the HAVVAC system, but they've got the new filters in, and then also they have coming some new portable type air filtration systems to be put in the classroom, which will give it the 15 or 16, that number that they're talking about, so that it's going to be pretty doggone clean air. And I feel really confident that it'll be fine. We're going to open up the windows and the doors. Then the next thing you're probably going to want to know is, what about security? And I think we'll cover that a little bit later.
Okay. Well, so doors and windows have been a question that came up from a number of family members and parents. Will doors and windows be open for the entire time that students are in the classroom?
It's my understanding that unless it's, freezing cold and you need that air. That's the magic of getting that sickness out of the air and pull it away. And yes, they will be open.
Okay. And so for some of our upper grade classrooms many of our classrooms do have windows and then doors on both sides, but not all of them do, particularly the wing of 6th grade and 5th grade. I don't know that they have windows that open, and they may only have one door. Are those the classrooms that would be getting the portable ventilation or filtration systems?
It's my understanding that every room will have that portable filtration system.
Okay. Thank you. So while students are in class, for all grades, are they expected to be masked the entire time that they're in the classroom?
Mask will be required from the time they step onto the school ground till the time that they leave. So yes, mask will be required. And we have several options. There are some masks that are recyclable, and they'll be washed. We also have the smaller, I guess they look the blue paper type mask, and those will be required for everybody. But yes, everybody's supposed to be wearing masks, and there, we talked a little bit about it today in our cohort meeting in the district, that there's going to be a time that you're just going to need to take the mask off. And if that is a situation, people will have to go outside, be properly spaced, and so that you can get a good fresh breath of air. But other than that, they're going to be on all the time until something else comes forth from the CDC.
Okay. There have been some questions from kindergarten parents about compliance of kindergartners, and are there strategies or will teachers be allowed to assist kids with putting their masks on if they're having some trouble?
I think Petra is and Mr. Tower are going to be a part of that. There is some health concerns when they get near the children. For an example, let's say they need help with their computer or some technology help, they'll need to put on gloves, and obviously they'll have their mask on, and get in and take care of that real quick, and then step back 6 feet.
Okay.
And then go through the take the gloves off, wash their hands. Everybody's going to be washing their hands a whole lot.
Mhm.
As soon as they come in the room, we're going to wash hands or have some disinfectant to put on their hands. So we're going to be very careful as to what we're going to do to make sure that we keep that bug at bay.
Okay. So there have been some questions
Tracy, can I
around.
pause you for? Sorry,
Oh.
Tracy. There is a question related to the air filters. Can I
Yes.
ask? Okay. The question is: some of the air filters purchased by the district were carcinogenic. What is the information about this?
I think, you know, I don't know directly what, I've not heard directly what that is, but Brian, to my knowledge, that has been taken care of. There's been a lot of negotiations through the union, and I'm sure that they're not going to let that kind of thing happen. I guess I could write that down to find out what that is, and then get back to you if you'd like. Is that something you'd like me to check on?
Yeah, I can email the actual question to you that came from the audience.
Okay, if you email. Oh, by the way, my email is skip, SKIP -Landon @scusd.edu, and that'll get you to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions.
Okay, thanks.
I also just want to note, because I've been seeing a few messages, this meeting should not have had a max, but apparently it did have a max and we hit 100. So if some of you know other colleagues or friends who have said they haven't been able to get in, my apologies for that. We are recording this and we will make a recording available. We'll have a way to email it out to everyone who registered. So as soon as this is finished, we'll email the recording out. It might not be right away. It might take me a couple minutes to do that. So if some of you are getting messages from friends or colleagues, please let them know. We regret that happened, and we will get a recording out to them. Okay, thank you. So Principal Lana, back to some questions. You had mentioned in the kinder example that teachers will be allowed to approach students if they need assistance, and then temporarily help them and get back. And that had been something I know that's come up, particularly around, again, kindergarten and maybe first grade families too, about what capacity will teachers have to approach students and assist them if they are having a challenge with something in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. That was addressed by Dr. Mackey on Friday, and she went into a pretty good explanation as to what I just said, that the kids are going to be taken care of. We're not going to be able to, hang on them like we normally would if we were a regular teacher in a different situation. But that has been a question of concern, and I think that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that things are right, and that we're in a situation where we really don't know how things are going to work. We're going to kind of have to feel it out a little bit. I'm going to have a school site council meeting on Wednesday, and I've invited the total faculty to come so that we can make sure that we hit every issue and cross all T's and dot all the I's. So, and I would hope that I've given you my excuse me, my email address. And feel free to give me a ring up on the phone if you'd like. Let me get a drink of water here. My cell phone number is 916. You guys got some paper, pencils? 916-531-3612.
Great, thank you.
Well, Tracy, Mr. Land, I have a couple of related questions from the audience. First one is,
Okay.
Is the district working with other districts that have already opened to kind of get some lessons learned about some of the things that we were going to feel out, things like that?
Yeah. Yes, they are. They're working with Elk Grove and Twin Rivers and Folsom Cordova, and there's another one I'm not sure about. But what they're doing is they're kind of not wanting to reinvent the wheel. So if they've got a successful situation going on, they've kind of, pulled, people are sharing. They want things to be shared. And so that, yes, they are looking at that. And Elk Grove is a little bit ahead of us, but they are, if you would compare them to the amount of time that we were in this situation with where they are, we're about the same thing as they were at this particular time with our district. So I feel really confident that things are going to run out pretty smooth. I worked for Elk Grove for 9 years, way back in the early 70s, and so it's a good district. But I decided to leave and came down to Sac City, which I really have enjoyed all the years that I've been at Sac City.
Okay, and then another question, sorry. What about recess time or snack time?
Okay.
Or are either of those going to be non-existent during the school day?
Well, that was a discussion with Dr. Mackey on Friday, and what we came up with is it will be very, very much supervised. They're going to have 6 feet, sectioned off, so they're not going to be able to touch each other or get close. One person mentioned that they got a bunch of hula hoops and they put them out there so the kids can do their exercises and everything, their cardio in that circle of the hula hoop. And it has worked pretty well in another school district. I don't remember what school district that was, but that's just one idea. But yes, they're going to have to get outside. I mean, they can't be in that room for 3 hours. And I mean, it's just not likely that they will be successful if they're in there all that time. So the thing is, yes, we are going to get outside. They will be only with their room, the kids that they're in the room with, and there won't be any intermingling between other rooms while they're out there. So we're going to have to get a schedule as to what that's going to look like, and we're going to start working on that on Wednesday or Thursday or whenever we get our groups together.
That's a good segue for the next question. The question is, what is that proposed schedule? Sounds like you guys work on it. And as in, what days or times will students attend, and how is the distance learning incorporated?
Okay, you've probably seen some of the district literature. It'll be a 3 hours a day, 9 to noon. Our kindergarten will be just a little bit different because we have 2 segments. So there will be a morning session and an afternoon session for kinder with a time in the middle so we can go in and do the cleaning that's necessary, prescribed by CDC. And then, but the rest of the grades will be from 9 to noon. And I think as we kind of work through that timeline, we'll talk a little bit about what does it look like when we come in the morning and what does it look like when we leave in the afternoon. So we'll get that all rolled out in the conversation tonight.
Okay. Thanks, Brian, for feeding some of our chat questions in. I'm going to go back to some of the questions that were submitted in advance, but we'll go back to Brian and Lee for things that are coming up. So maybe Principal Landon, we can just sort of stay on that. If we can kind of walk through and do an imagine of what does a day or a 3 hour day look like. Let's start from kind of drop off to pick up. So lots of questions about what drop off procedures are going to look like, and our kids doing temperature checks. Is that at school? Is that at home? So what does that look like in terms of what students are arriving at school with? We know they're arriving with a mask. What next?
Right. Okay. We're going to come up with a system. When we have, I guess there's like 500 kids coming to school, not all at one time, but the school is about 500. So, it'll be about half of that. And of that half, I'm not sure everybody in that half situation is going to be coming to school. So we'll just have to wait and see. But we'll have it very well organized so that when the kids get there, we will have them come to at this point, I'm going to recommend we get to the multi-purpose room. That's where the big machine is that we run the kids through to check their temperature. Now that machine can do 3,000 kids in 30 minutes. So it's not going to be a big whoop-de-doo to get our children through that machine very quickly. And then they will go out to their rooms and proceed with their school with the teacher. And we'll just have to make some systems in place so that you guys know what we're doing. And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be evasive, but at this point we don't have all the details worked out, and that's going to be what we do on Wednesday or the days after that. But before we leave for vacation, hopefully in the middle of next week, I would think that we'd have this stuff pretty well hammered out, so everybody knows what's going to happen. It's been talked about some of the younger kids that haven't been at the school. We think it would be a good idea to do, when this is just a talking point, maybe the first day we have an orientation. You know, we get to the classroom, we sit down, we go through the rules, we give them the expectations, they answer questions, you know, all that kind of stuff, so that when we get ready to learn, we're learning. We're not playing around. We have all the answers. So that's kind of what we're working for.
Okay. So do we envision, though, that all children are being dropped off either toward the multipurpose room or at the front of the school? No family members are walking onto campus with them?
That's correct.
Okay.
And let me go into a little bit of that. You know, I think the kinder kids will make a little bit of a exception there, but most of the children have been at that school for more than 1 year, so it should be pretty clear as to, you know, go to the rooms, the teachers, they know the teachers, etc. But it's been advised that the parents don't come into the school, and that's not my ruling. It's from the district, and I think it has some merit to it. We're trying to keep the kids as clean as we can, and you know, parents, they go all over the place, and we just wouldn't want to make a situation where we bring a bug in and get everybody infected.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about obviously more details to come, but a general sense of students may be temperature screened at the school site using the
Yes,
device.
yes, we will do that every morning before they come on. Well, as they're coming on campus.
Okay, and then they would be directed to go to their classrooms individually.
Yes.
Start their day with their teacher. So one of the biggest questions people have is, how is learning happening in the classroom? Are all students going to be on computers while they're in the classroom and watching the computer, or will there be interaction with the teacher?
Yes, there will be. I've been made aware that the district is bringing in some extra technology, that there'll be a rotating camera that can follow the teacher around for the kids that are at home. And then also the teacher will have access or vision of the screens, so that he or she can watch what's going on and dealing with the students at the school, answering questions.
So will students on the school site be on district issued Chromebooks while they're there from 9 to 12?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
K through 3 will have they will be issued, whether it's 2, they have their at home computers right now, and then they will reissue another computer for at school.
Okay, so if a family did not take a Chromebook from the school, one will be issued to them at the site, and do parents need to somehow indicate that they don't have a school issued Chromebook, or how will that distribution happen?
Yeah, yes, they will. Each student will have their own 4 through 6, they will be taking their computers back and forth to home.
Okay. So just, I
So
just
everybody will have a computer.
okay. So K through 3 will have a computer when they go to school. They don't need to bring a device. But 4 through
No, they
6,
don't.
4 through 6 will be issued a Chromebook that they will then be taking off and on campus.
Back and forth. And is it true that they already have a Chromebook issued to them?
Not automatically. So the way that our school went about it was on request basis. So
Okay.
I don't actually recall the total number of Chromebooks that ended up getting issued, but the school,
Okay.
our school site issued to families who requested them. But that, I wouldn't say that's more than, maybe it's 20% of the school that has a district issued Chromebook, but I think that might even be a high number.
Okay. I've been told that everybody will have an issue their own Chromebook.
Okay.
And the district is ordering scads of them right now.
Okay.
And they're being, they have to put their serial number on them in the district place down where they do that. And so they're going to be coming out with all kinds of stuff. And today I listened to several of the departments talk about a lot of the materials that we're waiting for are coming in daily, and next week is going to be a big week with most of the stuff being there.
Okay. So maybe one thing on the logistics, because I'm seeing some questions come in from parents on the chat, is whether it's going to be preferable for students to bring a laptop that they've been using at home versus a new Chromebook. So as you're working through the logistics in terms of what the supply is and what the logistics are, that's a question I think to come back to parents. Many of us are using, have our kids using a device of our own families that isn't a district issued Chromebook. So
so I can understand that better. Is it that the students want to bring their own computer, or they don't want to bring their computer? Because we're going to furnish a computer at school that they can take back and forth if they're 4 through 6. And like I said, K through 3, they are going to have 2 computers, one that they leave at home, because we feel that little guys and gals, they might drop it or whatever. So that will be in the computer cabinet, charging, and they will be cleaned, and all the precautions will be taken care of.
Yeah. To be honest, and I know Lee and Brian are taking most of the questions, but I'm seeing some pop up to me too. I think what I'm seeing from parents is both sides of it. Some are fine either way. They just want to know if there aren't going to be enough Chromebooks, they need to know whether to send their particular.
There'll be enough. Well, that's what I've been told.
Okay.
So, and I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Okay. So student comes to the classroom, a Chromebook or some device is there for them, whether they're in their backpack as a big kid or not. Question, we talked a little bit before about your understanding there will be some type of recess, and that's an area where I know you and I had chatted a little bit even when we first talked about this meeting, that physical activity level for kids is one that a lot of parents are wondering, will they have a chance to get out of the classroom environment into some fresh air and what that might look like? And you did answer.
I think, including myself, I think it's important that even if it's for 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, get out and get that outside air flowing through the lungs, and just get all the things out and bugs and try to the wiggles and all that stuff out, and then try to get ready for the next session. But they're only there for three hours, so it's not like the 6-hour day. However, I do feel strongly that we need to have a little bit of release time and get out there, but we're going to have to be very, very careful as to how that looks and make sure that kids follow our directions. And for the parents here on the meeting tonight, we need to impress on our kids that they've got to wear their mask, they got to follow the teacher's direction, and we can't, it's not like it used to be. You can't be playing with each other. You've got to have that 6-foot distance.
Okay. So we also in the student experience have some questions about students' access to restrooms and whether there will be restricted access to restrooms, or how might students be able to use
Well,
them?
the bathroom situation is very clear. If you have a bathroom with 3 stalls in it, you can use 2 of them and close off the one in the center. If it has 2 stalls, you can only use one stall. The same with the sinks. That is still a little bit in the planning, but they will have access to the bathrooms, and we're going to have to work through the sanitation of that. The CDC has recommended that you don't have to go in and use the fogger after every child. And I'm going to believe them. I have no reason not to believe them. So we'll follow those directions and make sure everything is done in per their recommendations.
Okay. So again, just trying to follow the through line here of the student experience while they're on campus. Can we talk a little bit about what they're bringing? I think there've been a lot of rumors that students are going to be told bring nothing to campus, and others that no, they'll have to bring some of their supplies back and forth, but they may not be able to bring backpacks. Do you have any insight about what that looks like?
Yes, they will be required to bring their backpacks and the books that they're using, so that they don't get shared with other students. So one question was, well, are we going to load them down with 30 pounds of books? And I hope not. But one recommendation from a parent was that they get the little suitcases with the wheels on them, so they can just pull them along with their books in them. But they will have their own books to take back and forth, so that they'll have their own stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Will there particularly, maybe this is just for the younger grades, you know, who are used to having a snack break, not even within 3 hours, probably within the first 90 minutes or so, will there be any, will students be able to snack at all during the time that they're at school?
They'll be able to snack, but they'll have to go outside to do that. And there's still going to need to be some clarification as to what that really looks like, so we make sure that nobody else is touching their stuff, and it's done in a manner that is what CDC recommends.
Okay.
So the answer is yes. And I think if we get creative, we'll probably be able to figure something out, so that if there needs to be a little break for a quick little cookie or whatever, a piece of fruit, I think that could be okay. But there has been some concerns as to how that's done. So we're going to have to make sure that we follow the rules.
Okay. Will there be any, we had a parent ask, will there be any meal distribution at the school site at the end of the day as students are getting dismissed to go home?
There'll be lunches available to as you're going on the way out, on the way home. And for students, there will be some that will have a breakfast. A lot of the meals will be, you're going to have to cook them a little bit. The lunch, I'm not sure, but cafeteria folks have got it all figured out as to what they call it grab and go. And so there'll be a big table where kids on their way out, they can grab a lunch or whatever they want, but there will be no eating on the school grounds.
Okay, so no low lunch time happening at school.
When school gets out, they have to leave immediately.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to pause at this point because I do have some, we have a whole other set of questions here coming, but I know Brian asked some. Lee, do we have any questions coming through the chat around this sort of day in the life of the student that we haven't already asked Principal Landon?
Yes, there are a couple. So one is, how early are the students allowed to arrive on campus? If the
There-
parents
there
are
will be-
having to work and such. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I was told that there will be no arrangements for early arrivals. It should, at 9 o'clock or a little bit before, like maybe 5-10 minutes, because they're going to go right from getting out of the car, get into the big thermometer machine, and then go to class.
Okay.
And at this point, you're probably going to ask, is there any after school or fourth R? And we were informed today that there are going to be 6 schools in Sacramento that have been given an opportunity to have fourth R. But other than those schools, it's my understanding that there will be no extra after school activities.
We're not one of those schools.
No, we're not.
And for PE, you mentioned recess and hula hoops. Is PE going to be in person, or if it happens to be on that day when the cohort is in person? Anyway, do you know how PE is going to look for the children that
I'm
are?
gonna be honest with you, I don't. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've talked about, but we have not really sat down and figured out what it's going to look like. I talk with a lot of principals daily, and we're all trying to figure out how we can get around and get through the PE situation and make sure the kids get their exercise and do what they need to do and still meet the CDC requirements. One is they do it on Zoom when they're at home, like they've been doing it. That is just one option. But other than that, I'm not sure that we have an answer for you at this point, but I'm going to write this down.
Okay. One more.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one more about children who have one-on-one aides in the classroom.
Mhm.
Are they allowed to have their aide with them on their
Yes.
in-person
Well,
day in the classroom?
There's a requirement. There can be no more than 16 people in the classroom. So in primary, there's 12 desks. So that leaves 4 slots for aides and the teacher. And in secondary or intermediate, that changes a little bit. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. But to answer your question, I would like to see every student have their aide. In fact, it's probably written in the IEPs so that they will need to have that. So we're going to have to figure out how that's going to look. But I don't think that's going to be a big problem, because I don't think every child is going to be coming for the 50% of the class. So let's say we have 10 or 12 in a intermediate class. Well, that still leaves four slots for adults. So I think we can make that work.
Okay. And I had a couple more just roll in if you want me to go ahead and ask those, Tracy, or did you have other questions you wanted to get to?
Well, let me ask a related question to that, and then Lee, we can jump back. So we did have a number of people in advance in their Zoom registration ask questions about special education pullout services that would typically be offered on site. So speech, occupational therapy, are those on-site services? So these are not students with aides, but these are students who are coming out of the classroom to work with a resource professional. Are those services going to be transitioned to on-site? Right now, most of the students are receiving that via Zoom, but will there be on-site delivery of those services?
That's still a question with the special ed people. They're trying to work through that. I know there's going to be some testing, and it's starting like this week, but it's going to be one-on-one. There's a big backlog of testing that needs to happen, and I forget the number, but it's way high. So that's going to be a little bit of a bottleneck. But to answer your question, the special ed people are definitely trying to work through that right now before we get started. And as soon as we get any word on that, I can give a, is there some way I could send out a message to everybody or?
So, yeah, Nancy might be able to help you do a kind of a robocall that becomes an email. I know that.
Yeah, I can do the robocall. Yeah, I can do the
But
robocall.
we can also offer the PTA e-newsletter goes to, I don't even remember, but more than 500 emails, and we're happy, we send a weekly e-newsletter. We're happy to put some information in there too. Yeah, but the information Nancy has would, I think, for sure get to all of the parents who have children registered in our school.
So you've had something in order before that, you know, I can communicate with everybody and not send out a million individual emails.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. I know that issues around special education are very top of mind for many of our families. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm writing some things down, so I'll have a little hit list that I'll be able to get taken care of.
Okay. Brian and Lee, I'm going to run through a few more questions and then we'll go to both of you for things submitted through the chat. We've talked a little bit about the AB cohort, you know, the little awareness that families have to make their selection by this week to the district, whether they want to return in person or not. Lots of questions around how will the arrangement into A and B happen? Do parents have any choice of selecting days that they might prefer? And siblings, will siblings automatically be matched so they're on the same days, or how will that work?
Well, the district is going to form that AB system, but I want to reassure everybody that once it gets to us, there's got to be a way that we can make things work, and I'm real flexible that way. So, but if everybody comes and wants to change, I'm not sure I can do that. But you know, for the people that it's really, you know, you have other kids, maybe. A good thing I heard that they're doing this AB thing for the elementary schools. So when you're junior high or middle school and high school kids, they'll have this information and kind of know where the brothers and sisters are. So they'll be able to kind of make that work in higher grades. So they assured us that they're going to be working on it. I'm sure there's going to be some issues, but that's what I'm there for, is to solve problems.
Okay. Well, your phone may be ringing off the hook then for people since you gave out your phone number earlier.
Well, let's not shoot the gun before it's time. We're going to need to find out what everybody has first. I mean, if you say like I need Tuesday, Thursday, and you haven't been, you may get Tuesday, Thursday. I don't know. So let's kind of be patient. And the starting of school is going to be slow. It's going to be productive. It's going to be sane, I guess, if you want to call it that. And we'll work through it. It's just going to take some time.
So when has the district informed you that parents will know what cohort they're in?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I know it's out there. Is Matt here with us?
Lee or Brian, I don't know if you can find Matt Zupan.
He's there. Let me find him. There you are.
I said I was gonna pull on Matt a little bit because sometimes he knows. Hey, there you are, Matt. Do you know when they're going to have the questions answered and when students have that Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Friday? Have you heard anything? You need to unmute him. Can we unmute Matt? There
Okay.
you go.
So they haven't asked all the parents exactly what cohorts they want. They haven't tallied all the information. The goal, from what I've been told, is that they're going to have that information before the break. Who's in which cohorts?
Okay. All right, thank you.
And they're gonna focus on primary because they're starting earlier. So The youngers will kind of help guide what the older kids, like if you have a kid in first grade and a kid in fifth grade, and you want your kids to be together, they're going to try and make it work with the based on what the first grader picks.
Okay.
That's basically what I've heard.
So then everyone needs to make their selection and get that in by the district's deadline of this Wednesday. And then hopefully we'll all have information by break time.
I heard today that there's a lot of people that haven't made that decision yet. So if you don't make the decision, then they will automatically do something for you.
So we had some questions about that. Yeah, whether the default, I mean, I think a lot of people here tonight are here because they are still maybe making that decision, weighing that. But is the default going to be to enroll the student for in-person so there is a spot for them, or is the default going to be to keep them in distance learning?
I hate to do this, but my wife has been calling me and she doesn't, there's got to be something going on. Could I put myself on mute just
Absolutely.
just
Looks
for
like
a couple
Matt wants to
seconds
answer it anyway, so go ahead.
Okay.
So students, whether they sign up for in-person or don't sign up for in-person, will have a spot saved for them for whatever their other day is where there's room. For example, say 70% of the class all picks their dates, and there's a couple of other days, they'll just fit them in wherever they fit in. And because the question was brought up to Mrs. Grimes that, is it possible to have kids come more than one day if nobody else is there? And it was decided by the district that no, they can't, because no matter what, every kid will have a specific day that is saved for them in case they change their mind and want to do live instruction. So pick the day that you prefer, but know that you always have that opportunity to roll it back and say, hey, it sure would be great to be able to try out in person and kind of go back and forth on that and see what works best for everyone. So that was per, I believe, Mrs. Grimes told me, a gentleman named Matt Turkey, who's in the district, said kids will always have their seat available to them on their day. Does that answer the question to a degree? That
it does, thank you. And I'm sorry, guys, we called on Mr. Zupan here. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Zupan is one of our second grade teacher extraordinaires and our PTA teacher rep. So thank you for jumping in.
And I'm also at the site teaching from there. So I have my finger on the pulse of what's going on more than because I'm there all the time. So
great. Thank you. I just want to address something. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. Just wanted to address something quick that might have gotten confused in the last conversation that Mr. Landon and I had. Some parents have said the district form doesn't allow me to pick A or B. That's correct. The district's form does not allow you to select A or B. So what we were talking about, Mr. Landon was saying, once the selection comes down, so the district will be making that decision between who's A and B. And then I think that what Principal Landon was saying is he's hoping to have some flexibility to sit down with teachers and to work with families around arranging. But he's asking, I think everybody, please tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth, maybe hold until you see which cohort you're in to start contacting teachers and the principal around moving, because no one knows what cohort they'll be in yet.
I'm hopeful that everybody's going to be happy and you get the days that you want and all that stuff. And, it may happen that way, but, we may have to do a little bit of massaging, and I'm willing to do that.
Great. All right, I think then one of the questions that have been asked that I think Principal Landon, you've started to answer is, what ability will our school have to customize the experience that's happening, right? That, modifications of which cohort you're in, or being more flexible with kinders and first graders. And I just want to make sure I heard you say at this point, you're hopeful that you'll be able to personalize what we're able to do on the school site within the bounds of what the district is telling you.
Yeah, and they've given principals that autonomy. They want the schools to be to the community. So they've given us that autonomy to go ahead and make some reasonable adjustments, and that's fine. We'll just do it.
Mhm. So I think the last question on my list, and then we'll go to Brian and Lee, is what will the procedures be if a student or staff member at school tests positive for COVID?
Okay. Good question. Thank you. We're setting aside a room so that if a student comes through the machine and has a temperature, that student will be escorted to that room, and hopefully the parents will be able to pick them up right away, because we don't have facilities to keep them there all day. So, that's kind of answering for the kids. And for also that something brought up just today in the meeting from the district, we're going to have the facilities to do some tests, the quick test, the 15-minute test.
Mhm.
And there'll be nurses on occasion at the school, and it'll be and then the one where they stick the thing down your nose, all the way through to your throat. That's a 48-hour turn. So it's the same thing for students as well as for adults. They'll be tested. Everybody's going to be, thermometers and all that kind of stuff, so that we know exactly where we are, and we can make our systems, pretty much safe.
Okay, thank you. Do you expect that?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think a follow-up question we had from a family is, do you expect that if you had a positive test from a student, that you would then have to dismiss that student's class that day to home as well?
No, they can go home. I mean, if they're capable of sitting at home, and a lot of times the flu that the younger kids get is not as hard on them as it is for adults. So if they're okay, they can go into their Zoom and do their schoolwork.
I think the question is, if let's say a third grader who was coming on campus tested positive, would all the students in that would all the classmates of that third grader then be dismissed?
Oh, okay. You mean if the student goes into the classroom and is discovered that they're positive,
Yes.
then the whole classroom would be put on a watch list, and we would have to go home and go through a quarantine.
Okay. Okay. I think that has gotten to the end of the questions that I have. And I first want to say, I know we're coming up on a couple minutes here before the 6 o'clock hour. I want to thank everybody for attending. Thank you, Principal Landon. Brian and Lee, I know have some more questions. I know we were not able to get to all of the parents' questions. We hope that we've hit enough of the high level for many of the participants here. We're going to have a couple minutes here. I'm going to toss it to Brian for any questions that we didn't get asked or that are new subjects that didn't get discussed. And then I'll toss it to Lee for a minute, and then we'll wrap up. Brian?
The first one I think we answered was, when will the drop-off system be released? And that's still in the works, correct?
Right.
And the other question I had, the last one is, please clarify how a kindergarten student will be expected to navigate a Chromebook in the classroom.
Petra, would you like to answer that? Could you unmute her, please?
Lee is looking for Miss Essery right now.
She's down right below me.
You can see.
There you go.
So from what I understood from Dr. Mackey is, if the students are having a hard time with that, we can come in close proximity. We'd be keeping our masks on. We would have to put gloves on and come over to them, and then we could help them, and for a short time, right? So we're not just hanging out right next to them, and to maintain the 6 feet distance. So that was my understanding from Dr. Mackey. So if they do have difficulties navigating it, then we can go over and guide them through it, and then, gloves off, wash our hands, and step away. So that was what I understood.
And you are correct in stating that, Petra. I think it's you know, I understand that parents are a little bit skittish and wondering what it's going to be for their little babies, and you couldn't get a better set of kinder teachers that we have at Sutterville. I mean, they're excellent teachers, and they're going to take care of your babies while they're there, and we'll make sure they're going to be safe and healthy and get their schooling.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Brian. Lee, other questions that are maybe of categories we haven't brought up so far?
Yes. Will there be any synchronous learning after lunch?
Yes.
So that will be via Zoom, everyone at home.
Yes.
Okay. And that'll be, I guess that is all yet to be determined, or maybe consistent with what the teachers are currently doing?
I don't quite understand your question. They'll have the opportunity to have their learning after lunch, yes.
Okay.
And just like they are doing every day. But the 3 hours in the morning will be at school.
Okay. And you mentioned a nurse on campus. Is there going to be a nurse every day at Sutterville from 9 to noon or during school?
There are, I think they said like 8 or 10 nurses in the district, and they have so many schools, so they'll be circulating around to the schools, spending time as required to help. I'm sure that we're all going to be busy trying to help kids, but to answer your question, there will be a time that a nurse will be there. I can't speak to how much time that will be or how many days a week.
Okay. And one last one is, what can parents do to help facilitate smooth transition to in-person learning?
Okay, Petra, you want to shoot for that one? She had her hand up, right? Okay.
Let me find her again.
She's right next to me.
Well, it's different on everybody's.
Yeah, thanks. So for the younger people is really, if with talking about it and thinking about it, if you're there a lot close by and you are planning on sending them to school, kind of, I would suggest maybe starting to back off a little bit, just because when they come to school, they're going to have to rely on us, whether it's kinder, first, second, or third. So they're going to have to rely on us for help, whether it's the computer or they can't find their paper, so I would suggest start just kind of, with, for lack of a better word, maybe backing off a little bit if you're there all the time, and just say, you know what, if you don't have what you need, just let your teacher know so they can help guide you, because that's going to happen at school. And then if they're used to having mom or dad getting them what they need right away, and we're still putting on our gloves and trying to, maintain 6 feet and run over to help support them, because the little ones, especially, they don't have a high stress tolerance. So it's, kind of backing off, and if they're having meltdown, yeah, go over. But just, I would say for the little ones, really, if you're really close by, just kind of start being, I'm going to go over here for a few minutes. If you need help, let your teacher know so they can start relying on us, because that's what's going to have to happen when, that's my opinion, by the way. Somebody else can tell me what they think, but that's what I think, because they're going to be stuck with me and Mr. Tao, and we can, if we've got the 12 kids, and how do we get around if they're used to us somebody being there right then and there. So I think to build a little more resiliency if someone's not there right then and there. Does that make sense? Sorry if that wasn't the right answer.
Mrs. Ferris sent me a message too, suggesting that the children practice wearing their masks if they don't have a lot of practice with that already, that would be a good thing to get them ready.
I think that would be a great thing to get them used to, because it's going to have to be on for most of 3 hours. And if they're not doing that, boy, kids just don't like to wear those masks. And I can understand that, but I really want to encourage all parents here tonight that you impress on them that it's not an option if you want to wear it or not. You have to wear it, or you will not be able to stay at school. It's that critical.
Lee, any other questions on your end?
If some people want to stay, I'm willing to spend a little extra time. We can go on or off the video. I knew we probably needed about an hour and a half, so that's what I've kind of blocked out.
Well, if people are willing to stay, we've got a little bit more time. We can go till 6:15. I may have to end the meeting for another meeting that I'm running a little bit later tonight, but I'm happy to,
Okay.
another 10 minutes, we could do that. So I do have a couple of questions. One, a couple of families have asked, can you confirm that April 8th is the return date for our youngest students and that our older students are coming the week after? Is that a firm date at this point?
As far as I know, that is an etched in concrete. If, you know, I don't know any more than you guys do about the negotiations between the union and the district, but I think those numbers are, if they're not approved, they are very close to that approval. So yes, it's the 8th and the 15th.
Okay. And then a couple of questions came in about gate testing, gate placement, gate assessments that would typically happen for students toward the end of spring, getting ready for next year. Are those tests likely to still be administered, and standardized tests?
I'm not sure we're going to do the standardized tests like we have in the past. It's still up in the air, especially Matt, the state testing. Give me a thumbs up if we're doing it. Matt, are we doing the state testing, Matt?
I haven't heard anything about confirming
Well,
that, or denying that, but I do know that if parents are uncomfortable with it, they have within their parent rights the ability to not do the testing.
Yeah.
There's specific legislation allowing them, especially in this crazy era of pandemic and everything going on, to not have to do the testing, of course. And for the families that want to stay at home, they shouldn't feel left out of what's going on by being forced to be at school to do testing. Same kind of thing with gate testing. It may happen at the school, but if for some reason a family doesn't want their child to be at school and wants to do the stay-at-home option, those tests can be done in, you can make an appointment to have those done at the Synchronous Center. So it doesn't need to be at, like, if you decide, hey, I'm keeping my kid at home no matter what, but I want to know what's going on with the gate testing, Synchronous has a specific testing site that they can do to accommodate that. But the state testing is an easy opt-out. And if it were me, I would say,
well, even
testing.
I've heard that even the state testing was probably going to be watered down a little bit, and there's just nothing out there that I can give any positive or negative on. It's just one of those things that we don't have any answers yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We did have a question that I apologize I did miss because we had several families ask this. They asked if you could give a brief overview of what the cleaning and kind of sanitation practices at the school site are going to be when students are on campus and before and after they're physically on campus.
Okay. We've done a thorough cleaning as well as sanitation in all rooms, on the desks, on the floors, and the rooms that have carpets. They've been cleaned with a new cleaner. Yes, there may be a stain in them, but they've been, you know, cleaned thoroughly and sterilized. We have plastic on the bookshelves so the students cannot get in and touch any of the books or take them out of the bookcases. That leads us to, what does it look like every day that the room needs to be gone through again? Well, they come in with that fogger and they sterilize and wipe the high areas of touching and, you know, around where the doorknobs are and that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, yes, everything's sterilized every night. And that's why we've tried to get a system in place, and I'm still working on that because we have 2 custodial staff, and I've kind of practiced with them in terms of when I assign them work to do, and they're going to be able to handle it pretty well. I'm very confident that that's not a concern of mine to not have the sterilization that we need.
Okay.
So I hope I answered your question. You know, I want to make sure I would bring my kids into the classrooms, my grandkids. My kids are too old now.
So I'm going to turn it to Lee and Brian again in just a second. I think we have, sorry, Mrs. Ferris here.
I just wanted to clarify something about the gate screening, just before parents start, calling the district office about scheduling screening. I would just hold off on it for right now. We did get notified that they just have put everything on hold until we can just get back into the classroom and they can figure things out. So I know that that's always kind of a stressful time for the gate screening for both first graders and third graders, but they did just let us know that at this point, just hold tight before, if you don't plan on returning to school, before calling the gate office, and maybe give it a couple weeks after we return, and hopefully we'll have more information then. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Ferris. And I want to take this opportunity to thank, we have many of our Stingray teachers participating tonight and attending tonight. So I want to publicly thank you for not just being here, but for all of the work that you've been doing in these really unprecedented times, keeping our students top of mind. So thank you for that. Brian or Lee, any other questions that have come in to you that we have not answered?
I have one about, more specifically, I guess they're wondering what the plan is for teachers to manage the children simultaneously on Zoom and in person. You mentioned the camera that follows the teacher's voice. Is that something that is on order? Is that going to be there when the kids are back? Can you give any more details about how we're supporting our teachers?
I'll tell you what I know. That was a topic of discussion today. The people that are in that technology circle said that most of it will be there when school starts. Okay. It will not be there for the teachers, or most of it, some of it, most, I don't know. It's coming in daily. And so they're putting their stickers on it and doing all that kind of stuff. And they've hired a bunch of people to do deliveries, and they're going to be making deliveries well into the late evening between now and the holiday. So they're doing their best to get all this stuff figured out. And I'm sure that teachers will be really happy when they get all this technology stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to do. And I feel really, really positive about it.
So I have oh, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
Go ahead. Well, one last thing is about, sorry, I'll go ahead. It's just about if a staff member or a teacher tests positive, then that group that's in the classroom will be quarantined for 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what I was told today.
Okay.
So following up, I guess maybe a little bit on that in a tangential relationship here, we had a couple of questions come in, and I want to thank and apologize to people who have been texting, or I'm sorry, chatting me directly during this. I haven't been able to see the questions in the same way Brian and Lee have, so I hope we've gotten most of these answered. There may be one or two that haven't. I see two here that I'm going to try to hit. One is, will the school be sharing what the vaccination rate is among school and teacher personnel?
You broke up a little bit on my computer. The vaccination what?
The vaccination rate of school personnel and teachers.
Okay. From what I've talked with teachers, they're all in the process. I just got a clearance from the district to to get my vaccination. I've been around a lot of people in the last 8 months that came down with it, and I haven't come down with it. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm a pretty healthy old man, and I will get a vaccination, but I'm going to wait for the Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. Well, it may be something as the discussions are ongoing at the site. I know we've heard from a number of parents before tonight and in the last couple of weeks, wondering if they will get affirmative information about whether their student's teacher is vaccinated or not.
I'm not sure that that can be done because it's a privacy issue. Whether somebody wants to discuss that with you, like I did, is their privilege, but I don't think that they have to or can be made to say whether they've had a vaccination or not. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's the way it works.
Okay. And then another question not related to that at all that has come up, I believe, from a kindergarten parent is kind of back to some of maybe the special handling around kindergartners, particularly their entry and their exit from school. I heard you say there may be some type of practice for them to figure out where to go when they get dismissed from their classroom. How will they know where to go to meet their parents for pickup?
Well, the kinder teachers are going to be sending out a memo to the parents and letting them know what's going to happen. Is that correct, Petra? Thumbs up. You're going to be sending something out?
Sorry, so we have some things that we're discussing for kinder. So there's a process that we have to go through for the entrance and the exit because it can't be the same. But we're working with Mr. Landon, and also we have talked to our area superintendent, Dr. Mackey, about kindergarten, especially since they don't have school experience. So we're waiting to hear back from her about some of our questions. So when we have more concrete information, then we will share that for sure, because, so for example, Mr. Tao and I, our classes typically overlap. So we're working on fine tuning a schedule where there's a special name for the cleaning crew, but for them to come in our room to clean between the morning kindergartners and the afternoon kindergartners. So we have to allow for that half an hour in between there. So we're fine tuning that schedule. And so that's on the plate. And then also doing an orientation that we did directly ask Dr. Mackey about that. And she is in the works of getting back to us about that, because we expressed our concern that we felt that the first day coming back and making them do 3 hours in class with people that they don't really know, just maybe a little small person on a screen, is a huge expectation. That would there be a little bit of wiggle room that maybe the first orientation, the first day they come could be a shorter day, and then we make it up for asynchronous, so it's not so overwhelming and they don't come in the first day. I hate school. I got to wear a mask. I got to do my temperature. My teacher can't come near me. I don't know how to use my Chromebook. So, between Mrs. Knight, Miss Lofton, Mr. Tao, and I, we were discussing all the different kind of scenarios on how best to do our best to make the transition if parents are choosing to send their kids, so it is successful and it's somewhat smooth. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Whew, I wasn't ready to be on the spot.
Well, I agree with you, Principal Landon. This could have been, at least an hour and a half, probably a 2-hour meeting. We wanted to kind of be respectful of what is probably dinner hour for a lot of people. It's post first shift of work, maybe before dinner and the second shift that's going to happen here for many of us. But I do need to stop this because I actually need to run another meeting later tonight. But I want to thank you again for your time and your candor. This is a challenging time, as you well know, for all of our community, not just our school personnel and our students and our families, but our entire Sacramento community. And we appreciate you coming, even though you don't know us very well, and coming to answer a lot of questions that we have. What we will do. Oh, go ahead.
I hope I get to know some of you. if not all of you. Yes, this is a challenging time. I've never experienced this kind of a situation in my 46 years. You know, I had some feelings about a week ago. I think, gee, everybody's asking me these questions. I say, I don't know. They must think I'm some kind of a doofus or something, you know. But it's just the way the district. All districts are doing the same thing. They don't have a clue, so they're just, you know, practicing and making mistakes and learning from their mistakes and making sure that the kids are safe. And I think probably after a week or two, we're going to say, wow, this was nothing. We're doing fine. And I would like to say, if you wanted to have a get together, say the third week after we get back, maybe the next meeting, I could bring some more, you know, information to the table. I'm fully into that. And I'm sure parents are going to have some more questions, and kids are going to go home and tell them, oh, no, we didn't do that. And when it really happened, you know, that's just kids. So anyhow, I want to say thank you to all of you this evening. And I hope I answered your questions. A little bit tired tonight. I got up at 4 this morning. I live in almost in Chico, and I commute down to the school. So I do have a long ride. So it's around a 3-hour turnaround for up and back every day. But I do that because I want to be with kids and be with great parents like you are, and be in the district that I've committed to. So hopefully we can work through this. And again, I'm available. I gave you my phone number and my email. So I'm just a text away, I guess.
Great. Well, we appreciate that. I'm going to take you up right now on the spot for setting up a follow-up after we get back. So we'll look at the calendar and get back with you on that.
Okay.
Thank everyone for attending tonight. We will compress or whatever we need to do for this recording so that we can get it shareable for everyone here tonight and for those who weren't able to get on for the first part of the meeting. And then we'll also make sure that we provide Principal Landon's contact information in our outbound email to people so that they can contact him as well. So thank you to everyone for participating. Thank you for all your support for the school and for your students. And on behalf of the PTA, good night.